Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's session. If you are not familiar, if you haven't been to one of these before, our monthly Torque Talk sessions give our users a chance to see what's new in our product. We usually take a deep dive on a specific use case that our customers have found helpful. This month, we're going to be taking a look at how to optimize cloud costs by implementing automated ephemeral environments. I know our speaker has a customer story we want to highlight that has some pretty good results, and is going to take a walk through the platform to show how we accomplish that. Before we get started, I just want to take care of a little housekeeping here. First thing is that this is an interactive session. We're not very formal. If you have questions, please submit them through our Q&A here. I'll be watching those on the back end here while our presenter is going through the session. And we'll save some time at the end of the session to cover any of your questions. Today we have Yaniv Kalski presenting. He has a lot of familiarity with this topic. He's going to give a in-depth walkthrough on the problem that we solve, and then take a spin through the platform as well. Without any further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Yaniv.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Yaniv Kalski. I'm the VP of Technical Field Operations in Quali. I work closely with our customers throughout the process from day one to them being successful. As mentioned by Colin, we'll want to discuss one of the customer stories today and show a demo of that user story. So we'll go over and understand the challenge and discuss our solution. I'll show a quick demo of that process, discuss some implementation best practices, and leave some time to answer the questions at the end. Okay, so just to make sure we are all aligned on the ephemeral environment meaning, so in general, it's usually non-production environments, something that if you can, you'll start for a very short time for a very specific task. And it can be for dev and test or demos, training, and so on. Again, if you can, it will be automated, so everything will be very clear and reusable. But in some cases, it will be built manually. And that's a good goal for any non-production environment. But in some cases, these will be not so short-lived. And not only that, especially when they're manual, people will just keep them running 24/7. So that's not ideal, and that's part of what our customer saw. So over the years, they saw their cloud cost keep rising, and they wanted to reduce on the cloud cost. Very reasonable to do. But they were lacking the visibility into what it's really being used for. So one thing that they noticed is that it's mostly being used by the software developers in their accounts, where they had hundreds of non-production environments that were kept running 24/7 for sometimes a month, usually mimicking their customers' production environment, just so that it will be easy for them to test their new features or bug fixes. But how can you really decide if you can turn it off or not anymore, or remove these resources? You don't even know who started it and for what reason. So that's part of what I want to show today, how they got to save more than 50% of their cloud cost. in a very simple and effective way, something that I guess everyone can do. So let's see how they did that with Talk. And in a very high level, without even the visibility, when we discussed it with them, we got to just doing the basic math. If they really need these environments up and running 24/7. So if you look at the 24/7 for a year, you just remove, because it's dev and test environments, if you just remove these non-active hours like weekends and the off hours, you already save 54% of the time. And that, of course, corresponds to the cost as well. So that's nice, but how do you do that in scale when you have hundreds of such environments? And is this the only way to save money, save on the cost? So we'll see that, and of course, Talk is there for to help you get there. So just before that, let's discuss what we see today with many organizations. You'll mostly see them on the left side wanting to go to the right side. So on the left side, we see the ClickOps chaos, which basically means your teams are getting access to the cloud, to the cloud console. They're responsible uh, to create their own resources. I wouldn't say responsible, but they get the access to do that. But no one really tells them for how long, which instance types to use, to turn them off when they go back home or during weekends and so on. So that's how you quickly get these uncontrolled costs. Again, it's very manual, so it takes time to build those. So it's not really reusable. So the developers or testers, they spend time on something that could have been done automatically, and they can use that time to do their own job. What does it mean for you? I mean, these environments, who are they for? What they are used for? Is it for demos? Is it for dev? How do you get this kind of visibility? So all these kinds of challenges, when you look at the way that you work with in an unorganized way, on the left side, and of course the security risks, just because you keep it running for maybe months and years with unpatched environments and so on. So to get to the right side, we'll go over that in a second. That's on the right side is where everything is managed, and you get the visibility, and you get all the optimized and control costs in a very automatic way. And that will help you, again, save on the cost, but also make sure that people are spending time on what's important. So to do that, usually with Talk, we go through three steps that we see below. So the first step would be to curate your resources. So maybe in your organization, you already have some IAC infrastructure as code assets that you can use and reuse and share with others. So we'll see it in a minute how we can quickly share those. But not only that, you can also import existing cloud resources to make them already managed. The next phase is to self-serve these assets so that everyone can just go to a self-service catalog, launch whatever they need, and without the bottlenecks. And on top of that, you get to that operate state when now everything works as intended, and you can enforce policies like which instance types they should use and for how long, and get the visibility of both the usage, like for how long they keep these environments running and for what purpose. So that's in a very quick introduction to what we want to see today. We can jump now to see the quick demo. One second. Okay. So let me go over a few areas in talk, and we'll start with the curate process that I was mentioning before. And the first part is that once you connected all your repositories, can be from different vendors and multiple repositories, you basically get all the assets exposed, and it doesn't matter if it's Terraform or Helm or Ansible and so on. And you can then decide if you use these as building blocks for something bigger that users can build on top of that, or if these are assets that are good enough to expose to the self-service catalog and just run as is. If I have a Terraform that already knows to build a few VMs and I just want to use it like that, that's fine. Just publish it to the self-service catalog. Users that are coming into to their account will see this catalog. They can browse through, filter by different labels, up to you to decide on the labels, on the meaning of them, and find the environment that they really need, launch it. When you launch, you already get all the benefits that was mentioned before, like everything is visible, you can tag it, you can describe what it's being used for, and so on. We'll get to that in a minute. But as was mentioned before, especially when you have environments or already running resources in the cloud that were created manually, that's where you, how do you automate that? How do you make sure this becomes managed? So for that, we have the resource inventory and the curate option. So you can just point to one of the cloud accounts that you connected to Talk, and you'll see this resource inventory that lists everything in that account with the different IAC status that shows you like how many are managed, which means how many of these resources really launched by Talk already. How many are codified, which means that at least they were created by some IAC, but launched probably manually from the CLI or whatever. So these are great. They can be now imported and being used by others and shared so that others can benefit from it. And the last one is the unmanaged. So it was created manually. It's now running in the cloud, collecting cost, and no one knows what it is good for. So let's see how it works if I want to convert one of these unmanaged environments or resources to code, to environment, to manage an environment. So one way to do that, so I can filter one based on the type. I can select one or more of the resources, in this case, the unmanaged one. And when I click on the curate, I can pick, in this case, Terraform. And when I approve it, it will go and create in the background the Terraform file that represents this one resource in this case, but it can be multiple. And it will generate the TF state file, so the state of the machine right now and all the relevant tags and everything that is running there. And once it's done, this shouldn't take long for a single resource. I can just download these files, upload it to my repository so that it will be available for everyone. So once I import that, so this is one that was created before. Once I import that, I can see that as one of my managed environments already. And I can already get the benefits of using the environments in Torque. In this case, I see first that it was built with the Terraform. I can see the list of resources in that environment. Again, it can be one or more. For these for this kind of resource, like an EC2, I can get a quick access to some actions like power off or restart if it was powered off, so a way to power it on. But more than that, I can click on it and get even additional workflows that someone else maybe created for me. Because now I don't really need to access the cloud anymore. I get this platform. I can access everything that I need from here. And if we look at the tags, we'll see that the Torque already, as part of the import process, already added many tags to that same resource, so that now it's much easier to track why and what it was used for. So that's in general the resource. Coming back to our story, in a similar way that we have a workflow on a resource, we have workflows that for environments. And in this case, I automatically got these two workflows, the power on all the EC2 instances and power off all the EC2 instances. And it's already configured with something that my admin configured, in this case, a cron job or a cron timing that will tell this workflow to run every day. So it will power off my environment in 7 hours, power on my resources later in the morning. And just like that, I don't need to run anything. I know that every day I'll come in the morning, I'll have my existing resources running. And just to look at these workflows quickly. So we talked about the power off, for example. We can see how it's being triggered or configured to be triggered. And you can play with it, of course, to tell it to run at your own time. And you can see how many of the executions and their status. So again, when you talk about scale, the same workflow can now run on multiple environments, hundreds of environments, and make sure that it automates that process for you. Okay. one last thing that I didn't show in the demo itself, just to talk about the reports that we provide as well. So you get the visibility into the cost, everything that is actually being used through Talk, no matter if it was launched from Talk, like one of the environments that you saw, or if once we import it and it becomes a managed environment, we also start tracking that cost. And you can really get a breakdown based on the cloud account, based on users, based on environments, and so on. In addition, you get to see the realized savings. So this is what Talk saved you over the time. So if it powered off your VMs and now they cost much less, we show that. And you can still see like the duration of how much it was powered on and off. But if you really want to move a step further, you can still see the potential savings, which will show you all the environments that are still not perfect. So you will see the powered off time, the power on time, but also the idle hours, which means that you can still optimize it even further. So I wanted to mention a few best practices when you start working like that, and you want to optimize on the cloud costs. So one important thing is to just do the quick wins first. So as was mentioned, not all the cloud infrastructure really needs to run 24/7. So start with these. In most cases, these will be the dev and test environments. You know that these people that really need it do not work in those off hours or weekends. So start with that and just turn them off during that time. And if you need to prioritize, then start, of course, from the most expensive ones first. In terms of the team adoption, I would mention that it's really important to expose it to the end users from day one and give them access to the self-service catalog so that they can already start using, whether if it's their imported environment, that's the environment that they used before in the cloud, and now they get access to just power on and off this environment, or start a new one. Now that you have the asset, the Terraform file imported into Talk, you can just launch new environment that look just the same, and maybe you don't really need to keep them running 24/7. So that's like the next phase of optimization. I wouldn't start with changing any other flows, like how they use their IDE or how the CI/CD pipeline works. But of course, that's the next thing that you can tackle. And even for these environments, for these workflows, create environments in Talk. One more aspect on the governance. So I showed you before all the tagging that we add. So you can control that, what we are adding to each resource. You can add the ones that really make sense for you, for what you need to then make visible, and based on that, make decisions. So make sure that you just decide on the right tagging over there. For pitfalls, don't start with the production environment. Start with all the dev and test. don't enforce like um, policies that are too restrictive. But anyway, we let you, as admins to the system, even once you have such policies, the admins can come and override and make exceptions. So make sure that you know that the users also know that it's always possible with the admin to get some exceptions and overcome some restrictions. And of course, once you set all these policies, don't just set it and forget it. Monitor that once in a few weeks or months, because plans change and you might want to readjust that. I think, yeah, that's all on my side. I think we can move on to the questions.
All right. Thank you, Yaniv. That was great. We did have a couple questions come through. If anybody else has any others, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A, and we'll try to cover them before we wrap up here. We had an early question show up during your presentation asking if Work is a cloud cost management platform. I think they mean in the category of FinOps tools.
Yeah. So no, it's not really a CMP. We're not there to optimize really your billing options, but what we saw today is how we can look at your cloud resources and identify idle resources, and how we give you all these data operation and workflows on top of that to shut down or power back on or shrink all these environments. So save cost in that way. Yeah.
Okay, and the last question I'm seeing here, one more reminder, if you have any others, please put them through, otherwise we'll wrap up. The last question came through when you had the reports up toward the end of your presentation, and it asked how Torque detects the idle resources. I think they're referring to the potential savings report.
Yeah.
A little more detail on that.
Yeah, so as part of Talk, we have the Cloud Copilot. It's our AI engine that really tracks these resources and checks basically their consumption, and it tells us and then tell you which ones are really idle and not being used, so that you can power off these environments and save on the cost. So
Great, thank you, Yaniv. That's about all we have for today. We do have some of our cloud cost capabilities are accessible through the Torque Playground. So if you visit quali.com and then click Visit Playground, we have an interactive public-facing version of our product where you can view some sample reports, sample dashboards. You can even launch real environments, really get to know what our users do in the platform without any requirement, no email or credit card required. So visit quali.com to visit the playground. Thank you to our audience for joining us today. Thank you again to Yaniv for presenting. And as always, thank you to Corey on the back end for making sure this all works correctly. We'll see you all next month.
thank you.